Woohoo!
Hi.
Hey! And then...
My pants are very tight. I'm sorry. But I don't have any other pair. So this is what I wore. Thanks, Allison. So this is a piece I call Movie Memory. Let me just move this down a little bit real quick. One of those advanced ones that you have to unscrew. Hold on. Yeah, okay. That's better. All right, yeah, this is a piece I call Movie Memory. Movie memory is how you relate to life through your cinema experience. And I was going to call it Cinema Experience, but then I thought you'd think it was about like soft cable porn or something, so I opted for Movie Memory. So actually, my first movie memory isn't really mine. It was my mom's movie memory. So it was my movie memory. My movie memory. Superman. My idea of the 80s cuts back a little bit into the 70s and pushes into the 90s. So, anyway, it was 1978. I was one-ish. The opening credits were loud, you know. Dun 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 dun. That's just super cool. I never got to do that before. So it was super loud. It was very loud. But my mom thinking, let's take our newborn child to Superman. It's going to be very cool. And of course I cried a lot. And my mom had to get me out of there. We just left the movie because I was crying. And my mom talked about it regularly after that, which is why it ultimately became my movie memory. She would just talk about cute baby stories like your moms talk about over and over again. It was so loud, and that's my mom. That's not actually how she sounds at all, but I'm just trying to do like an older woman's voice. Someone who's gone through menopause. Anyway, it was so loud, and Gene Hackman words were like approaching you through the air. He was crying, like, "Mommy, take me home. Turn it off." I didn't know those words by then. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what I might have said. So anyway, I made it my own memory, my first movie memory. And by the way, it's my understanding that exposing babies to bright flickering lights in dark spaces can really impact their neurological growth. So which is why something might be wrong with me in the later movie memories I have. You'll get it when I explain. So my next movie memory, The Muppets Take Manhattan. Sorry, I just want to make it really clear right now, before we get further into this, that I'm not going to be describing to you my experiences of watching John Hughes films. I mean, I was super young at this point, okay? I wasn't getting into 16 Candles and stuff like that. So, I want to just say that now. Anyway, it's 1984. I'm 7 years old. I love you, Miss Piggy. I am in love with you. No, listen, everybody. I loved her. My dad took me. He wore a hat on the very top of his head. He often wore it very high. Wow. I just realized that I'm doing the same thing right now. No, that's not written into this. Anyway, my dad wore this hat very high on his head. He did that for a while. It was like a baseball cap. But it was usually like Army focused, like USS Arizona or something like a ship, from a war. And it didn't make sense to me, but he did it, and I just was like, yes, Anyway, we got those candy canes out in the front. They have those at movie theaters without the curvy part. It was not the Christmas ones, the ones they sold year-round, just straight, boom. Like you put them on a tree, zingo, not gonna hang. And They're just straight. Anyway, containers of them. There were containers of them. Flavors, ascending flavors, just back away from you like crayons. And you would just pick whatever you wanted. It's a big day. And I would just like, boom, root beer. Boom, berry flavored. Purple, pink thing. Purple, pink, and anyway, Miss Piggy. So, oh, God, I loved her so much. I'm trying to express to you how I felt about it. I loved her, like one of those heartbreaking, heart-aching, splitting, tear me apart, when am I gonna see you again? Like, when will the pain stop? Daddy, can we see the Muppets movie again? You know? Ooh! Kind of love. This happened. And actually, before I go on, I should acknowledge an oddity pertaining to my life, and in particular, this story. So the first wet dream I had might have been about a dog. I'm not totally positive, but I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure. And, you know, I was just a boy. I hadn't had intercourse. I mean, I was 6 years old. Jesus, God, I hope I hadn't had intercourse. But I felt so much love for this dog in this dream, you know. I was just undeveloped, just figuring out my sexuality. And I came in my pajamas, and it was weird. You know what? That's weird that I told you that. It feels weird to get it out of me. But you have it now. So anyway, that's out there. You know though, it's just, you're young and you're figuring it all out. So anyway, my early, once-in-a-lifetime 6-year-old bestiality thing, somewhere in the hot heat, that record-setting melting heat of Redding, California, I fell in love. And you just go in there into that theater and you have no idea you'll leave loving a pig. A puppet pig. And that's movies. That's what movies do. They just drag you into its heart. And I was in love with that movie, and my mom and dad are to blame. They were in love with movies. You know, I learned it from them. I think the next time, I'm pretty sure the next time I felt that way in my life was Jodie Foster in Maverick. Okay, so just to kind of move out of the bestiality stage. She was so hot. And, but you know, I need to digress a couple years, because really quickly, since it's fitting to mention it now, another movie I saw before that, The Dark Crystal. Let's give it up for The Dark Crystal. 1982, 5 years old. There's very little to say about this film other than the fact that I had a boner for the Gelfling. Jen. The little, her ears and all, I'm sure I related in some way. She was the orphan of the Mystics. They raised her, the Mystics raised her. So very hot. I wasn't supposed to come, I didn't mean to bite my lip there, that wasn't supposed to happen. So anyway, maybe it's not a bestiality thing. Maybe it's like a puppet-diality thing. A puppet-diality? It's a new thing. Sex with puppets. So moving on, it gets a little worse. My next movie was a rental, Kiss of the Spider-Woman. It's an obscure reference, I'll explain the movie. You know, it was 1985, 8 years old. First of all, The Kiss of the Spider-Woman, that's weird, first of all, that I should be watching that at that age. And the movie struck me as a little strange, which is an understatement, really. An 8-year-old watching a movie about political unrest in Latin America with themes of homosexuality, homosexual sex with minors, all within the setting of a South American prison that uses tortures on its inmates. And I should mention, while my dad was clearly forward-thinking with his 2 mature movie choices for children, he wasn't much of a communicator, you know? We didn't sit down after the film and have a chat about it, you know, like why William Hurt, the gay window dresser, is having sexual relations with Raul Julia, a political professor who was working for a leftist anti-government revolutionary group. You know, I mean, we didn't talk about things. So I'd never seen the likes of a film like this before. Just, I'm just a kid. I'm just sucking my thumb, rubbing my tummy, you know, watching a film. You know what? I should mention I rubbed my tummy and sucked my thumb very late in my life. So at 8-year-old, I was still doing that at 8. But, you know, I missed the whole story, this whole thing about the Spider-Woman. I made up something in my head. I think I made up a Spider-Woman with a penis, like climbing all over a web, licking a long tongue at me, trying to lure me into his web, and he or she would just like grab me and just kiss my head and have sex with my head, and that's what I was left with.
What?
And by the way, William Hurt. I don't think this guy should be talking to 8-year-olds, really. I mean, what a strange voice. Who decides kissing the Spider-Woman is okay for an 8-year-old? My dad. Okay, 1986. 9 years old. Another rental. My Little Pony, the movie. Excuse me, My Little Pony, the movie. Danny DeVito? He did a voice in it. Okay, let me just start by saying I wasn't in love with any of these animals. That's not the road I'm hoeing, you know, for you. But if there are animals that one should be in love with, it would have to be My Little Ponies. Oh, or My Little Pegasuses, which they were in the movie as well. When I think about their pink and purple pony hides, what great waterfalls they flew around. Well, only the My Little Pegasuses could fly, but the My Little Ponies still swept about with their thick legs and their glittery tails or manes, or whatever. And the waterfall, that flowing rainbow of colors sending mist stars out into the cartoon air, is magic. It's magic, it's movie magic. And I mean, that's what this is about, you know? It's not about childhood bestiality. While there is a lot of that, as it turns out, in my childhood, I'll deal with that later. That's not what I'm here to talk about. What it is about is the power of movies, the awe of it, the impact of it, the escape of it. And I learned it watching my dad and my mom immerse themselves in it. Their escape from their lives filled with divorce and adultery and breast cancer and death and gambling and countless failed marijuana crops and single parenthood and lost dreams and whatnot. The thousands of rentals and theater viewings to escape again and again and again and again, to forget themselves. And I watched it happen. I grew up watching it happen. The power of those movies. And I bought it. I bought it. Until 1989. 12 years old. Me and my dad. James Cameron's The Abyss. The crossover. This is the description that I found of the movie. An American nuclear submarine mysteriously crashes into an underwater cliff and sinks. The Navy asks the workers of a nearby underwater oil rig to locate and investigate the cause of the crash. As the crew embark on their mission, they encounter a number of difficulties and discover they may not be alone. There is something else down there. There's this scene where the character Bud, played by Ed Harris, is going into the abyss, deep. So deep that he can only send text messages. He can't talk, okay? It's too deep. So deep, in fact, that he has some kind of seizure, okay? Let's get serious for a moment. He gets a seizure, and he's not responding anymore. he might be gone for good. And his girl, Lindsay, played by Mary Elizabeth Mastroianni, is tripping. She's very serious, you know, up to this point in the movie, distant, protected, flippant. But when Bud's descending, you imagine she starts to get thinking like, what if she loses Bud? What if he gets hurt or something? And she starts reminiscing about their past, and it's suddenly like that love in the movie thing where the bickering couple who used to be in love bicker for 2 hours and finally fall in love again, you know? Because some crazy shit happens. So when Bud's suddenly not responding from down there, Lindsay is trying to get him back online, and she can hardly keep the terror out of her voice, confronted by the possibility that she might have lost him forever. She's saying, "Bud, you hanging in there? Talk to me, Bud. Are you okay?" But there's that pause. That agonizing pause they've put us through so many times. All that silence and seconds. Too many seconds. And then, just when you think it's gone on too long, and there might just be no way in hell that Bud's coming back alive, up on Lindsay's computer screen, a line of text appears. Shaking stopped. Feel better. Some light below. Oh, and we are so relieved, you know? It happened, he's there. Oh, but the audience is still tense, you know, because they're faced with their own mortality, and my dad is next to me, and he's motionless in silence. And silence. And I follow suit, as does the audience. And in response to Bud's note, "Some light below," Lindsay says, "What kind of light?" And in that pause, between that line and the next, so fast I can't even believe it, someone from the audience yells out, "A Bud Light!" You get it? No, there's levels to it. Ed Harris is Bud. So Bud Light. Oh, man. Oh, you're laughing. Oh. Laughter. So much laughter. And my dad laughed. My dad laughed. He laughed hard, sitting next to me. And I realized right then, 12 years old, listening to my dad laugh at this guy in the audience, some random guy not even in the movie, I realized then that I could cross over. That I would cross over. And for him, and for my mom, I would do it. And now she's dead, and he's very old. But I still want to cross over. Thank you very much.